So remember that one time I made a video and it was like, Clubhouse is the best thing since sliced bread, and I just spend so much time on it and it's gonna be the best thing in the world. Yeah, it's kind of dead now. So let's talk about it. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Aaron here, back once again from the Real Estate Marketing Guys, as well as Revamped Real Estate, keeping you up to date with the tips, tricks, and updates of everything around social media. And of course, as we talked about in the intro, talking a little bit about Clubhouse. Now, you might have seen the video. If you haven't, I'll put it somewhere up on screen. Definitely check that out after this video. If you're like, what the heck is Clubhouse? I haven't even been on it. I'm on Android, haven't even had a chance to test it out. Sorry, but you kind of missed the boat. But before we get too deep into the video, guys, really quick reminder, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, make sure you do so. Click below, click the subscribe button, notification bell right next to that, and get notified every time we upload a brand new video here on the channel. So let's talk about it. What the heck happened with Clubhouse? Now, full disclosure, a majority of this video will be opinion, but I wanted to go ahead and start off with one really important fact of that. It was like super down in terms of the amount of people that were downloading the app. Of course, on iPhone, it's not available for Android just yet. 74% from February to March, and that's a huge decrease, right? 74% less people downloading the app. Now, I probably attribute a lot of that being that there's a good majority of people, at least that were going to be on the app in the first place, that have already been on it, right? Because it's an invite-only app. But that's huge, right? 74% decrease. Now, a couple things that I strongly believe that kind of attribute to that is, number one is, of course, the fact that the vaccine is out. Of course, this is not going to be a political video by any means, but I mean, people are allowed to go out and about, right? Back in, let's say, December, January, when things were really popping off, even in February, of course, people were still stuck in their houses, right? We weren't able to go out. It was cold in most places within the US. Now, or not in the US, but just around the world, but now it's getting warmer. Now vaccines are coming out and it's a little bit more appropriate for people to be out and about. So what happens when you're out and about? You're not glued to your phone on Clubhouse. Okay, let's backpedal, let's reverse just a little bit before we get too far down the rabbit hole of, you know, the, let's say predictions and things like that. But some of like my own personal experiences, let's say over the last 90 to 120 days, to be honest, I haven't really been super active on Clubhouse over the past 30 days. But when I first jumped into it, I think one of the biggest things that pulled me into Clubhouse was the fact that it was exclusive, right? I was, you know, I almost felt like I was a part of this secret club that, you know, only a certain amount of people could be in. Now, call that entitled. Well, that's maybe not the best word for it, but call it whatever you want. But it was really cool to be a part of something that not really a lot of people could actually be in unless it was, you know, unless they were invited. Now, of course, as the months went by, you know, more and more people started to get invited because everyone had more invites and they were just bringing a ton of people in the app. Not saying that was a bad thing, but it was really cool to be a part of something super exclusive when it first came out. And when it comes to the amount of time that I was spending on the app, like I was addicted. I'll be 100% honest. Basically, like everyone was, and everyone that was on the platform was saying the exact same thing. There was hundreds, if not thousands of people in some of these rooms that I was hanging out in, speaking in, which was really cool, but it was a really, really quick decline after that. One of the biggest things that I attribute that to, at least in my personal opinion, again, is the fact that you have to be present on, you know, in these chat rooms, especially if you're speaking, right? If you're up on the panel, they did a really interesting thing to where, like, if you were speaking on the panel, you couldn't actually mute your phone, right? It was still like super low in the background, but like if you're trying to get work done, you know, you're in a quiet space, you're still gonna hear the people talking, and it's also super distracting. So, you know, I spent almost all of January, February, up to the middle of March, like we went live pretty much every single day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, talking about YouTube. I'm super grateful for it, obviously, because I was able to meet a lot of you guys that watch this channel. I was able to, you know, build a lot of people up into our Facebook group and really just connect with a lot more people and help a lot more people, which was really cool. But then again, that leads to the second part of it, which is it was just being so much time into the app. Now, I'm someone like a lot of people on the app that have families, that have kids, that have jobs, that have multiple businesses that they're running, that have other obligations than to just sit all day on Clubhouse. There was a lot of people that I found, you know, on there, and I was almost like questioning to myself, like, how can you be doing this but also like be building your business? Now, granted, you know, people have assistants and people that are helping build a business and they're the CEO, but at the same time, like there's this one time that stands out specifically where there would be people that were in the rooms that you can hear kids and, you know, people just screaming in the, well, not people, but kids screaming in the background, like crying, just like saying like they wanted attention, but then like this person was just hanging out in Clubhouse like it was no big deal. Like, not to judge anyone's parenting style, I can't sit here and say that you know, my kids have cried in the background of like a phone call or something like that, and I kind of just let them cry and let them do their thing. But at the end of the day, like, it was just, you can tell that it was bleeding into a lot of people's personal lives, a lot of people's family lives, and a lot of, yeah, just bleeding into pretty much everything. So I think that pretty much covers like my personal experiences, pros and cons, things like that. Again, on the pro side, you know, got to meet a lot of really amazing people, like a lot of podcasts that I've been able to speak on, a lot of people that I've invited into our podcast, you know, a lot of people that we've invited into our ecosystem. You know, there's just a lot of really genuine conversations that were built on Clubhouse. And, you know, I still spend probably about a day or two, you know, going live every week over on Clubhouse. So if you haven't already followed me, Aaron_real estate over there on, or is it Aaron Martinez? I forgot. Search up Aaron YouTube and I should pop up. And then of course the cons is just the amount of time that it takes to spend on those. And another thing just to add really quickly to the cons list is I was finding that a lot of people, maybe this is like, again, me being on the side of just like really wanting to help people and making sure that they're getting good information. But there are some people that like were blatantly like giving terrible terrible feedback and terrible tips and tricks and, you know, strategies when it came to building, you know, let's say a social media platform or a YouTube channel or whatever it is. But because you have a platform, right? Because Clubhouse gives people a really, really easy way to build their own platform and bring in a bunch of people, is I would sit in some of these rooms sometimes and I'm like, holy crap, like they're literally telling them to do all the wrong stuff. Like, so I guess maybe that is bringing it back to my obligation to be more active on Clubhouse to give the right feedback, we'll say. But at the end of the day, I think that's just the main pros and cons of it. The last thing that I really wanted to touch on in this video specifically is just the fact that, you know, Clubhouse were valued at like something like $4 billion after they had, you know, investors and, you know, their last round of investors coming into the app. But yeah, that's a lot, like $4 billion. But the only thing is that of course, you know, a lot of people are talking about, you know, Clubhouse is this revolutionary thing, but of course you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have, you know, all these other companies that are like, well, hey, like there's a ton of people that want this. Let's just build it out on our apps. And these are billion-dollar companies that all they have to do is be like, all right, cool, like make me a Clubhouse. And they have like full on like hundreds of people in their developing teams that are like, all right, let's just build this out overnight. And we're seeing it. Twitter, Facebook, Clubhouse, and Spotify have all announced, not only announced, but have already rolled out their own, you know, well, they'll say rooms, right? Their own Clubhouse clones. I think Facebook was even saying that they were gonna test out and roll out their own type of Clubhouse that was a little bit more video oriented, which I honestly think is pretty cool. It's almost like a mix between like live podcasting, live streaming, Clubhouse. Like it's a whole different experience that I think just that video aspect definitely helps it. And then of course you can say a lot of reasons why people liked Clubhouse is because you can just get out of bed and just talk. You didn't necessarily have to be ready and be on camera. But I think like the novelty of that, and maybe again, maybe this is just my own personal opinion, but I feel like the novelty of that got really old really quickly. I think there's still a lot of really great conversations on there, but I don't know, maybe I just wasn't in the right rooms. Maybe I wasn't talking to the right people. But all I know is Clubhouse takes a lot of freaking time out of your day. You can try to trick yourself into thinking that you're gonna do, you know, a bunch of things at once, but really when you're speaking on some of in these rooms and speaking on some of these panels and you're just like almost waiting for them to call your name or almost hesitant to like leave the room because they might call your name and you can give some insights and, you know, gain more followers, then it's, yeah, it's super hard. Bottom line, it's super hard to get anything done when you're specifically on Clubhouse. So that's pretty much gonna do it for this video, guys. A little bit different than what we usually put here on the channel. Of course, usually it's very like tactical and do this and here's some tips and tricks. But because I made, you know, 1 or 2 videos of Clubhouse before and I was like, this is gonna be the best thing ever and you should download it and blah, blah, I felt kind of obligated to give you guys a like a 90-day recap review type video so that, you know, if you are on Clubhouse, it's just something to think about, especially, you know, when the Android version comes out. I think that's going to give it another like boost in, you know, the amount of people that do jump into it for obvious reasons. A lot of people have been talking about Clubhouse. Android's been left out and now they're going to bring people in. So they're going to have a surge there. But for me, 1 to 2 days max that I'm spending on Clubhouse, not a ton of time into it. But again, just really being able to put it on the background, let's say on a commute, or let's say I truly am just like listening and want to jump into a specific room. Of course, we'll spend spend time over there. So anyway, guys, that's gonna pretty much do it for today's video. If you have any questions or anything that you wanna add to this video, or maybe your own personal thoughts about Clubhouse, leave them down in the comments below. Also, just another quick reminder, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. Click the button below, as well as the notification bell right next to that. And leave a like if you got any value out of this, or you did enjoy this video and it gets it out to so many other people here on YouTube to learn more about not only social media, but everything about YouTube. Well, I guess YouTube is technically social media. Anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.